Hello, everyone. So today's mini training is going to be on the topic of legal requirements. When you run a business, and again, I'm all about doing it right at the beginning. So you're not having to unwind mistakes or do things, or sometimes too, I've heard people, they've gotten sued and then they just get out of it altogether. They're like, this is so not worth it. I can't sleep at night. I don't want that for you either. So there are legalities to any kind of business. So I wanted to talk about some of the legal things around starting a property management business. So first of all, your name. Are you going to be an LLC, limited liability company, a corporation with a subchapter, which is what I was, a corporation subchapter, or a sole proprietor? Maybe you start out as a sole proprietor, and once you get a few more doors, you create a legal entity. The reason for doing that is because it helps shield you in the awful event that you get sued. That person can only come after the assets of the business. They can't come after your personal home, your retirement investments, anything like that. So that's why, and typically there's better tax write-offs if you have if you're a corporation or a partnership, you get some additional write-offs, right? So you would want to meet with a real estate attorney and talk about, what would be best for you in your situation. Okay. But you can completely just be a sole proprietor in the very beginning, and then as you grow, but do your research ahead of time. The other thing associated with incorporating or being an LLC is when you file your business taxes, you're going to file with the state that you're in. I'm in California, and you have to file a report every single year. I used to just have my real estate attorney do it for me, so I wouldn't miss the filing and I would stay legit. You also have to keep minutes, and some people don't realize this. So I did quarterly minutes for my business, and I kept track of it, and started out just myself. So as a result, as I was everything, the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer. Okay. So I would just type up my minutes, what changed for the quarter, if we bought any equipment, if I hired somebody, if we brought on a bunch of new properties, if we closed out properties, kind of a summary of what was going on with the business, what we'd earned for the quarter, what our expenses were. I always printed out my profit and loss and my balance sheet out of QuickBooks, and I would attach that to my quarterly minutes. And then I would do a year-end one, which kind of summarized the whole year, right? You must do that if you are a legal entity, because just because you become a legal entity, if you were to be sued and it was discovered that they say, hey, we want to see your minutes, and you haven't been doing your minutes, then guess what? The other side has what they call pierced the veil. And when somebody pierces the veil, that means now your corporation is kind of non-existent. They can go after everything in the corporation, but they can also maybe go after your personal assets too. So that's why you want to follow the rules of being a legit, do it right for your business. So that's one aspect of legal concerns. Also, within your marketplace, in some localities, in order to be a property management business, you have to register as a business and you pay for a business permit, whatever. Make sure you look into that because you want to do that correct as well. Okay. The other legal concerns, and I mentioned this twice before on other little mini trainings, was fair housing. You definitely want to make sure that everything you do in your business, you are following fair housing, you're following your local ordinances, and local ordinances could dictate, or state law could dictate, how much rent increases you can do. If you can even do rent increases. We're still in the pandemic, but there was a moratorium on evictions. So understanding what the whole process is, how you would serve somebody who hasn't paid their rent on time, What if there's neighbor complaints? You know, what's the 3-day notice posting? How do you do that, right? There are legal ramifications. Just the rental agreement that you create with somebody is a legal agreement. So making sure that you've spelled out very clearly the rent, the security deposit, a move-in report with photos of what was the condition of the property when the tenant moved in, so that when the time comes and they move out, if there's damages, you can show that there's damages, you can charge for it so that the owner can be compensated for that. All the way to how you advertise the property, what you can say in an advertisement, what you cannot say, how you describe the property, how you show the property. There are very detailed steps around that that protects you from being sued by somebody that might feel that maybe you discriminated against them. And you have to realize moving and looking for a place is extremely stressful. And people may be applying for properties at multiple companies, right? And they're shelling out money. It's expensive every time you apply for a property, and they keep getting turned down and turned down and turned down, and they don't really understand why, especially if they have good credit. It may be that somebody has stronger credit, higher income, right? And they just keep losing out. And now they've spent $300 and they still haven't found a place to live. People may then be coming back with, hey, you didn't rent to me because you discriminated against me for whatever reason. So knowing all the laws, making sure that you follow everything, that you have very clear processes, how you explain things to people, what's the criteria to rent a property. These are legal things that you need to know about. How you do your accounting. Wow. You could get a surprise audit and everybody, their boots shake when they get an audit. And usually where the problems exist is around the accounting, because most people that come into property management don't have accounting backgrounds, aren't CPAs, right? And now you're working with software and you're trying to do the accounting and you have to reconcile every single month. And it may not be easy to find somebody that knows your property management software. QuickBooks side, yes, but your property management software, people may not know that. That's a specialty. That can be stressful. So keeping your books accurate so that if you get an audit, you're in good standing there. So there's lots of different, we're going to talk about insurance coming up and how you protect yourself with insurance, but there's lots of different legal ramifications, I would say, in property management, way more than doing sales. And with sales, it's disclose. With property management, it's detailed, document, right? And you keep, how long do you keep files? In California, we are required to keep a file for 3 years. You know, say the owner's closed out with us, you have to keep it for 3 years. And I always kept my files minimum 4 years because people don't always know this, but in California, tenants have the right to come back up to 4 years later after they moved out of property and dispute their security deposit. And they're gambling that you shredded the files that you don't manage anymore. And guess what? They're probably going to win if that's the case, right? So know all the different legal ramifications, local ordinances. Where my business was located, we have a university. And so there was a local noise ordinance. We also had water restriction ordinances during the drought. So that meant we had to include special addendums with every rental agreement or lease stating what the noise ordinance was, or if the property was in the city specifically, any rentals in the city were now inside an annual city rental inspection program that was conducted by city personnel. So you need to know all those things, right? You're representing yourself as a property manager and expert. So do the responsible thing. Also, kind of, you know, it gets to habitability. Another legality that you need to know about is what makes a property habitable and not habitable. And that ties more into the maintenance side of things. But Tenants can withhold rent if maintenance repairs aren't handled in a timely manner. And I know timely manner is a vague terminology. If it's a maintenance emergency, you need to be on it immediately. In my company, if it was non-emergency, we repaired it within 5 business days. That was our process. That was our rules. If there's something that's going on and on and on 3 months later and it still hasn't been repaired, it could be something that tenants could withhold rent on. You know, if there was a water leak and now you've got mold issues going on in the property. So the best way to stay on top of all the different laws is you will take classes that are taught annually, usually in December, January of each year, of all the new laws that have been passed and that are coming down the pipe. And those are taught by attorneys that specialize in landlord tenancy law, real estate law. And you need to stay on top of that because those things are changing all the time. And yes, it can be a bit overwhelming, but guess what? That's why owners that manage their own properties come to us as experts, because it gets to the point where they're like, I just can't keep up with all the laws, right? You're the expert. I want to hire you to handle it, right? So that in a nutshell is some of the different legalities that you need to know about when you have a property management business. One aspect I didn't talk about, let me touch on it briefly, is once you start hiring a team, you now have HR laws that you need to deal with, right? You need to make sure you have posters up. Your staff is entitled to a 15-minute break in the morning and the afternoon and a minimum 30 minutes for lunch. Do you have policy and procedures that state that? And have they signed off on that? Do you have an employee manual that outlines all the benefits that they have and the requirements, what time they show up to work, when the office is closed for lunch, their break times, that you provide workman's comp for them, all these different things you need to document, because if you don't, guess what? You have a disgruntled employee leave, they can come back and sue you. And it's happened. And I know many property management companies have had that happen to them. So again, it's document, but there are a lot of legalities that you need to consider and think about if you're going to start a property management company. And I don't want to frighten you. They're all easily manageable things. It's not something that you need to lay awake and say, you know what, I don't think I want to get into the business. I'm too scared of it. No, you partner, you make sure that you have a good landlord, tenant attorney, a good real estate attorney. You may even have an employee attorney, or at least reach out to somebody in the event that you ever need to get advice from them about something. You have other professionals that are there to support you, and then you create the documentation to CYA, as they say, right? And when you bring staff on board, you have them read and sign. This is what our policies are. And this is what would get you terminated. And then if there's a complaint, this is how we do the probationary period and things like that. So when you have a business, and again, this is very different than just selling homes, right? And I think this is where realtors don't realize it. You are running a full-blown business that has an accounting department, has operations, has maybe HR, has marketing, has maybe a sales department as well. You are running a full-blown company. You're not just selling a house and then the real estate office handles kind of everything for you and you get your commission check. It's very, very different. And the responsibility that you have as a business owner can be pretty weighty, but it is totally doable. And I love property management. And although I sold my business, I still love property management. And it is an industry that has been exceptionally good to me. So the more educated we are, the less fear, fear there is. When we're fearful about a legal issue, is because we don't know enough about it. So get educated and take those classes and know what the laws are. And then I hope that just reviewing some of these things to think about today has helped clarify for you whether, yeah, okay, not a big deal, but it's good to know. It's part of your education towards starting a property management business of your own. If that's something that you are considering doing, I want you to go on over to PM Done Right. And again, I love that name because I'm all about having a business that's done right from the beginning. So head on over to pmdoneright.com and register for my upcoming webinar on how to start a property management company and generate revenue year round. So thank you folks for being with me today and adding a little bit more to your education for how to start a property management company. See you next time. Bye.